So auction day is coming up and you're not exactly sure what to expect and how the whole process works. Today's video will uncover all the above for you and hopefully put you at ease and give you all the information you need to feel comfortable. Firstly, before an auction in Victoria, you have a 30-minute open for inspection. The reason for this is a legislative requirement that the buyers get to see the auction rules and the auction contracts at least 30 minutes before the auction starts. Additionally, it's always good for buyers to have another look at the house and fall in love with the house. And also buyers might come off the street and decide to bid as well. It happens all the time in our company. Then the auctioneer will start the auction. There'll be a team there. And firstly, they generally go through the legalities, go through the law on how an auction works, and the contract, what the buyers are buying, and what terms and settlements they would need to adhere to ensure the contract is all good and okay. After the auctioneer goes through the terms and the contract, they'll go through the reasons to buy, just the last remarks about the home, just to gear up people and get them excited and hopefully give you, the owner, the seller, a little bit more, because it reminds them of the features, the benefits and the advantages of your home. Now, when opening up for bidding, it's not too much of a concern exactly where it starts. A general rule of thumb is it's better to start lower than it is actually higher. And the reason is because if you're at auction, let's just say you're coming to an auction and you're going to bid. How excited are you to go, yep, I'll give you my best price? No, you either want to wait and see what other people are doing, or you'll put a comfortable bid in well under your comfortable range just to get comfortable with the whole process, which is what we suggest for buyers to do. So if you, the owner, or us, the auctioneer, or your company is only looking for a high bid, generally some people will say no to that and you won't get any bids at all, and then the property passes in and doesn't sell. Whereas at least if you have a lower bid, just a more affordable bid, a comfortable bid for the buyers, you'll at least have someone that started it. That gives social confidence to the other buyers. Oh, if someone else has bid, I'll bid, vice versa, and it just keeps on going. So that's definitely our suggestion. There's three ways that an auction can go as well. You can have heaps of bidding, you can have no bidding, or you can have some bidding. Okay, so heaps of bidding, you just bid. The property goes on the market, it hits the reserve price, keeps on bidding, it gets sold, and awesome, well done. That's the ideal scenario, and it happens more often than not. Another scenario is that there's no bids. That shouldn't really happen. The only time that happens, generally speaking, is if there's a pricing concern with a house, or there's a major concern with a house that buyers don't like. But you would know at least 14 days into your marketing campaign how much interest you generally have. But even if you don't have interest, it's still good to have an auction, because we've done plenty of auctions where we've sold them. We thought that we didn't have as much interest as we actually ended up having, and there was 2 or 3 extra buyers, and it went rapid fire, and we got a fantastic surprise and results. So it's always good to try than not to try. The worst case scenario is that you're in the same position that you were in before. Your reserve price. Your reserve price is one of your most important strategies. You really have, if you're a seller on auction day, you have 2 strategies. One is your reserve price, the other one is your presentation of your house. Present it as well as you can. Hopefully you've done display furniture as well. Not a must, but it's always a good thing, especially if your competition houses are doing that. Your other strategy is your reserve price. You don't want it too low and you don't want it too high. Your reserve price is generally set as your reluctant sellout figure. It's not your happy sellout figure. It's not your goal price. It's not your celebration price. It's the worst case scenario. And the reason for that is it's your strategy price. It's your price that you're willing to put the property on the market to allow the whole marketplace to know that yes, the property is now up for sale, so bid, otherwise I'm selling it to the highest bidder. Up until this point, the buyers aren't bidding to buy the house, okay? If the buyers are underneath your reserve price, say your reserve price is at $1 million and the buyers are underneath that reserve price, they're not buying the house. So there's not much motivation or interest for them to actually bid. Whereas once the property's on the market, it's hit your reserve price, they're the same thing. Once the auctioneer announces it's up for sale, it's on the market, we've hit the owner's reserve price, then what actually happens is the buyers, if they're having any strategy, that has to go out the window and they actually have to bid. Because if they don't bid, the property gets sold to someone else. so they can't have any strategy there. So you don't want it too low, because if we do hit that figure, we put it on the market, you still have to sell at that figure at a worst case scenario. You don't want it too high either, your reserve price, because then we never get to announce the property on the market. We never get to announce that we hit the reserve price. And because we never get to announce that we've hit the reserve price, a lot of buyers actually won't bid. Many buyers' strategy is actually to wait for the property to go on the market. A lot of professional bidders wait for a property to go on the market before they actually bid. So very important to put it on the market or hit your reserve price as soon as possible. Your reserve price is not your gold price, it's your reluctant sellout figure in order to allow the auctioneer to say, we're now selling the property, so bid. The buyers have quite a few strategies that they can have on the day. They can bid quickly to scare the other buyers off. They can bid slowly to try and slow down the auction. They can double the increment that the auctioneer is looking for. They can halve the increment that the auctioneer is looking for. They can not bid at all and wait for the property to go on the market. So there's quite a lot of strategies that a buyer can have, and each buyer will have their own personality and strategy, and it's up to your professional auctioneer to cater for all those needs and make sure that they can extract the best price from the marketplace given the buyers given. There's if you have ample bidding, that means that you don't have to put the property on the market straight away. You never have to put the property on the market straight away, in fact. So if you have quite a lot of bidding, then the auctioneer might choose not even to put the property on the market immediately, wait maybe until they're $50,000 above what your reserve price is, and then decide to put the property on the market then. You can also do what's called an auctioneer might see that a buyer is interested, and this happens with our company nearly every single weekend. One buyer is interested, they're the highest bidder though, and even though they're the highest bidder, so you could possibly decide to put the property on the market at this point in time. But what's better, if they're the high bidder and the auctioneer believes there's more money, is the auctioneer can simply walk up to that buyer and say, hey, the owners are looking for X amount. If you give us X amount, we can go inside, chat to the owners and see if they're happy with that. And that is many times, maybe 50% of the times where we ask a buyer to bid on top of themselves, it actually happens. Obviously there's more to it than that, but that's our IP, that's our trade negotiation strategies, but we ask buyers to bid on top of themselves quite frequently, and I would say 50% of the time it happens and it works, and because of that, the person that pays us, the vendors, the sellers, they get a little bit more money, and that's us doing our job. Sometimes we can refer to you, the seller, so what that means is the bidding keeps going, then it might stop and we're under the reserve price. If we're under the reserve price, we can pause the auction and not just pass the property in, go inside and talk to you, the owner, and see if you want to readjust your reserve price to the figure that currently is given on the marketplace, or say your reserve price here, the offers there from the market during the auction, you might say, okay, look, I'm not willing to take that, but I'm willing to take this. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go here. You can keep it there if you want to. It's whatever you feel is the right move for your house. Remember, it's your life, it's your situation, and it's your money. But we'll give you our professional recommendation on the day. So there's a lot of on-floor negotiations that happen. Pre-auction, we can also tell you about the buyers that hit boxes. So generally, we know when we're going to have bidders at auction because they give away certain signals, and we generally think there's about 5 signals that a buyer can give us, and if they hit 3 of those signals, we know that they're a bidder. One of them is that they pay for a building inspection. So you're only going to pay for a building inspection if you're interested in the home, right? So if a buyer's done that, we go tick. Okay, we need to find 2 more ticks. If they have a second but not third inspection at the house, generally speaking, if a buyer looks at a house 3 times, they could be over analytical and might be too logical in their decision making and less emotional, so they might not be really enthusiastic about your house. But if they see your house twice, we get quite excited, but not a 3rd time. Independently contacting us, so rather than us having to chase up the buyer, they're chasing us up and they're calling us up all the time. That's also a good sign. If they've made an offer before auction, that's also a good sign. And if they want to change in terms, say your settlement is, or settlement day, your settlement day that you want is 60 days, they want to do 30 or 90 days, that's always a good question. Or we want 10% and they want to give us 5%. That's always a good question as well. Even though you want the 10%, the fact that someone is asking for 5% is very good news. So the 5 boxes, again, just in summary, is that they're paying for a building inspection, very good. Second but not third inspection, independently contacted the agent, made an offer on the property, or they want to change in terms or settlement. If they hit one of those 5 boxes, they're generally going to be a bidder. So we will know who's going to be bidding at your auction even before the auction happens. And generally speaking, there'll be one buyer that hits 4 or 5 of those boxes, and they will be the buyer that ends up buying the house. We just don't know how much they're going to pay, and that's why we need the other buyers. If we do need to refer to you, say the property, the bidding comes to here, your reserve price is here, so we come and refer to you. It needs to be a quick referral. Even if you say, so we pause the auction, we come inside and talk to you and say, hey, do you want to readjust your reserve price? It's important that your decision making is quick. Even if it's a no, it's okay to say no. It's your house, remember? However, it's just important that we have quick decision making. The reason for this is every single second that I'm inside the house, or the auctioneer is inside the house talking to you, is a second that they're not outside talking to the buyer. And that's what you pay us for. And the longer the buyers have to think, the more logic sets in, the less emotion sets in. And we want them to have emotional decision around your property, around their purchase, not a logical decision, because generally a logical decision is a lower sale price. Whereas if they're emotional, it's a higher sale price. So the quicker the referral, when we're talking to you, if you need to make any decisions, let's make them quick, whether they're a yes or a no. It's not too important. It's all about making a quick decision. We're on your team. Remember, your sale is our resume. It's very important that we get you the highest sale price possible, because that's our resume. Neighbours and prospective clients will be out there watching area specialists and what we do. So we want to make sure that we get you the highest sale price possible so that we can get more business. So we're wearing the same jersey. We're on the same team. Now, if the property's not sold on auction day, that's okay. Don't worry. Normally it sells within an hour after auction, and we negotiate with the highest bidder, as they have exclusive right to negotiate for the property immediately after the auction if they're the highest bidder and we haven't hit the reserve price. And if it doesn't sell to that buyer, statistically in Victoria, a house will sell in the next 7 days as long as your price is right. So I don't want you to stress about that. We don't have to sell on auction day. Yes, we'd like to, as long as it's the right price for you. If it does go to private sale after the auction, so it passes in, we're negotiating with the highest bidder, that negotiation falls through, we can't get you and the buyer to meet at the same level, then we go to private sale. There's no extra cost in advertising, which is also a great thing. Then generally the newspaper ads run out, and you might drop a little bit lower on the internet advertising, and you can revamp that. That will cost a little bit extra in advertising, but apart from that, there is no extra commission, no extra fees, no extra advertising, unless you want there to be extra advertising. If we sell the property, which is more than likely, as we have one of the highest clearance rates in Australia for a real estate company, once we sell your property, we'll knock down the property, we'll sell it, the buyer will come inside, you're generally in another room, and we like to keep at arm's length and do all the paperwork. You can say hello to the buyer maybe afterwards and congratulate them if you want to, but you don't have to. You're in another room, they're generally on the kitchen table, we do the paperwork, we get the deposit, it's all done, it's signed, put the sold sticker up, the buyer has a photo in front of the board, you have a photo in front of the board, and everyone is happy. That is auction day. If you do have any questions, give one of the large, friendly team members. When I say large, they're not that large, but we've got a large team. Give one of us a call, and we're more than happy to assist you. Look forward to seeing you.